Continuing on the subject of Ukraine, a local woman is using her skills to help raise funds for her home country. Natalia Savenko was born in Russia. At a young age, she, along with her family, moved to her father's home city, Mykolaiv, Ukraine. It's there that she spent her childhood before moving to Canada at the age of 21. But after a series of bombings Saturday night, Natalia awoke to the following footage showing what used to be a school in her hometown.
It felt just like a shock, and like it's not happening in this reality.
The news coincides with a series of concerns for family and friends. Natalia's father has not been heard from since March 3rd, while a close friend has fled the country.
I haven't heard anything from my dad because I have no means to contact him yet. One of my friends is still in Hungary waiting for the visa to be opened up for Canada.
In response to the conflict, Natalia is sewing Ukrainian flags. As an embroiderer in Lloydminster, she's selling her work and donating proceeds to the Red Cross.
That was my first thought, like, what can I do? How can I use my skill? And it just happened right away. People are coming over to purchase them, people that are not even related to Ukrainians in any way. They're messaging me from all over Saskatchewan or Alberta, and I mail them.
With more than 100 flags sold to date, nearly $4,000 has been raised already. Natalia says she's not done yet.
This is the way we're going to help, and we will keep doing it. And we'll spread the word and show everybody how brutal this assault has been on our country.
Changing gears, the Lloydminster Rotary Club met at the Lloyd X today, where a special guest laid out the framework for a local nonprofit's future. Our Nicole Gruber reports.
Startup Lloydminster, a local nonprofit, supports small businesses and entrepreneurs with coaching, networking, and opportunities for growing their business. At today's Rotary meeting, Wendy Plandowski, the acting executive director, introduced a new strategic plan for 2022 to 2025.
So one of the things that we wanted to do was create centers of excellence, or pillars, where we focus the priority of our work.
The plan focuses on 4 pillars: growth, service delivery, community engagement, and future of work.
If you're a small business and you're struggling with something, or you're wanting to realize an opportunity, maybe you're not struggling at all. Maybe you've got more business than you could possibly shake a stick at, but you don't know how to grow. You don't know how to bring in more staff. You don't know maybe how to franchise what you're doing, that sort of thing. That's where Startup Lloydminster can help. And so we would work with other partners like, BDC or other service providers to ensure that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish as a business.
Along with the new plan, Startup is offering new ways to get involved, such as lunch and learns, mindfulness sessions, and monthly founders movie nights. All events and sessions are aimed at helping businesses learn, grow, and thrive. Information on them can be found on their website at startuployd.com. For Primetime Local News, I'm Nicole Gruber.
Now, for a blast from the past, here's Blake Nath with this week's edition of Retrospect.
This week in Retrospect. Back in '92, Lloydminster opens the brand new, upgraded library in the atrium.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the library.
With that, Lloydminster's new library is open to the public. However, it's not the first opening for the library. The Tyrees have been in Lloyd for over 4 decades. So you've been library patrons for a while?
Oh, years and years. I can remember when the library was in the City Hall upstairs. So it came a long way since then.
The huge new facility is located in the basement of the Atrium Center. It's twice the size of the old location and, based on first impressions, is being well received.
It's got a nice atmosphere, a nice environment. It's quite large, very well organized. Quite impressive, quite impressive. Nice building.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's really a big difference to the other old one.
After a 2-week move period from the old building, the new location is fully functional.
And we've got a lot of people whose library habit was interrupted for a couple of weeks, and we're expecting to see them and a lot of other curious people.
And growing gophers. Back in '97, as Lloydminster expands, it contests land claims laid by burrowing rodents.
The stakes in this problem are very high.
Burrowing rodents, namely pocket gophers and ground squirrels, are causing between $50 and $100 million worth of damage each year. Alberta agriculture officials say the problem could get noticeably worse as humans continue to take over the rodent's natural habitat.
As we ultimately try to change the cover of the land to maximize it for production for man's own use, for forage and for crops and so on, this problem is inevitably going to become more apparent.
Alberta agriculture officials felt it was important to address that concern, so they've organized a damage control workshop. It'll be held in Edmonton starting tomorrow night.
We're going to be looking at what has been done in the past, we're looking at what we're doing presently, and we're looking at some of the research work that's going on to control the damage caused by these rodents.
Bourne says there's been a few problems with the current damage control methods, including the lack of availability of some rodenticides.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Welcome back. Lakeland College held host to a livestock show this past weekend. For a recap on how it all went down, here's Thomas Wildman.
The Little Royal is a celebration of agriculture that has many great events that take place over the whole weekend. The livestock show is run by students who are part of the Stockmen's Club. Last year they had to run a virtual event, but the organizers were excited to be able to hold a proper show this year.
Yes, the show was a little bit of a worry as we were not able to have it last year. It is very great to see everyone here in person and be able to have all these young exhibitors be able to exhibit their cattle here for us.
There was a junior and open show, and both had heifer and steer classes, and the junior show had a showmanship competition. Breeders of many ages attended the show, including 4-H members, Lakeland College students, and plenty of breeders from near and far, and the show was a great success.
It's pretty awesome to be back in person after 2 years at this show, and a great college. If you really want to learn about agriculture, it's a pretty great place to be, I think.
You know, Lakeland College is it's one of the better agriculture schools I think you can go to, and it's really good to be back showing cows and doing stuff in person like Carter said there again, and be out and be able to hang out with your friends and stuff, so it's good.
Thomas Wildman, Primetime, local news.
From cheering on the cheerleaders to cheering for some warm weather, let's toss to Shelby Clark for your second look at weather.
All right, thanks so much, Tate. Now taking a second look at your weather forecast, we'll be starting off with the central region of our provinces to kind of see what we are sitting at. And yes, that cheering probably did work out because we are seeing some nice positive temperatures, those plus temperatures on the Alberta side especially. Rocky Mountain House and Edson both at 10 and 11 degrees, 4 degrees in Red Deer, 2 degrees in Edmonton, Whitecourt, and Jasper at 3 and 7. And Athabasca is looking slightly cooler, just seeing -4. Now switching over to our Saskatchewan side here, they are seeing some slightly cooler temperatures compared to the Alberta side for sure. Meadow Lake is at -10, while Prince Albert and Melfort are slightly cooler at -11, -12. Saskatoon is just hitting that -5 point, while North Battleford is still sitting at -9, and it is -7 in Cold Lake. Now switching over to our northern region now to check them out. They are seeing some slightly cooler temperatures, but not too bad. They haven't reached that -20 point just yet. Most spots is seeing around -13 on the map here on the Saskatchewan side. La Ronge and South End both at -14 degrees, -16 in Wollaston Lake, and Stony Rapids, Uranium City seeing -17. Now switching over to this end here, Grand Prairie is beating out everybody on this side, seeing that 7-degree mark throughout their day. So Grand Prairie is looking definitely a lot warmer today. -1 in Slave Lake, while Peace River is at -8, and the rest have reached past those double-digit points with -11 in Fort McMurray. High Level is seeing -13, and Fort Chipewyan is seeing -14. Now going over to our southern region now, they aren't struggling too much. They're seeing some beautiful temperatures compared for sure. Lethbridge and Calgary both seeing that 12-degree mark, so I think we're slightly jealous for what we are seeing today here in the border city. Medicine Hat is at 11 degrees, while Banff and Coronation are slightly cooler, seeing 2 and 3. And now switching over to this side here, usually they do see some slightly cooler temperatures, so they definitely have cooled down a bit today over on this side for the Saskatchewan side, but they are still seeing those plus temperatures, so it's not too bad. 2 degrees in Estevan and Regina, while Moose Jaw is at 4 degrees. 3 in Swift Current, while Kindersley and Yorkton are slightly cooler past those minus marks at -2 and -5. And now going back across the region to see what we will expect over through the evening and throughout the night across the region for us here. We will be cooling down just a bit. For sure, we aren't seeing as low as we saw last week, so I think we all are pretty happy to see that hopefully spring is slowly coming in here. Provost will be seeing a low of -4, while Murnum will be seeing a low of -9, as well as Paradise Hill. Wainwright will be seeing a low of -6 degrees, while the rest will be cooling down a bit, going from a -11 to -13 for the rest, and we will be seeing some cloudier skies throughout the region, while some spots will be seeing around a 30% chance of some flurries. And now looking at our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, tomorrow we will be seeing that 0 mark, so we will be starting off seeing our warmer temperatures with a low of -9, but we will be seeing a 40% chance of some showers tomorrow, so hopefully just be careful out there. It may start to get a little bit slippery this week, so drive safe and just try to be careful. And Wednesday and Thursday we will be seeing some nicer, sunnier skies throughout both those days, the mix of some sun and cloud on Wednesday at that 0 mark, and Thursday we will be seeing 1 degree throughout the day with a little bit more cloudier skies. That's another look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
It's time again for the weekly sports panel, and we're joined as always with our sports reporter Evan Kenny. Now this time we're talking about the ACAC. They've had a busy weekend as they wrapped up indoor sports playoffs. 3 Rustlers teams were playing for medals, and Evan, you were at one of those games.
Yeah, Jace, the women's basketball team, they were actually hosting playoffs at the Lakeland College, and luckily for them, they had a very, very successful weekend. On Friday, they were able to cash their ticket to the CKSA Nationals in Nanaimo coming up here shortly. That was on Friday night, and then on Saturday, they were able to win the ACAC championship for back-to-back years, as of course, back in 2020, they did win, and obviously last year, there was no season, so they are back-to-back champions. They defeated Nate in the finals by a whopping 25 points, final score being 74-49. Jace, like I mentioned, back in 2020, the Rustlers did win the ACAC championship and were set to go off to nationals. However, the pandemic did hit right as they were about to go off to nationals. So this team kind of felt like they had that stripped from them, like it was taken from them. So right from day one this season, that was their goal, to make it back to nationals. And obviously they have done that. We'll have more on this story on Tuesday night as well.
Now sticking on the topic of basketball, the men's team, they were able to grind out a bronze in Calgary.
Yeah, a grind out for sure, Jace. It was a very, very strong defensive performance from this team, especially through the round robin. They were able to beat Concordia University of Edmonton and the University of Alberta Augustana Vikings. And the Vikings actually had the Rustlers numbered throughout the whole regular season. The Rustlers were unable to defeat them. So they really came through when it mattered. They beat Red Deer by just a close 3-point margin, 82-79. In the bronze medal game.
All right, now as we're talking about, we're going to talk about Red Deer now. The women's volleyball team, they were playing in Red Deer over the weekend, and they had some success as well.
Yeah, they did. Jace, they were able to make it all the way to the finals. Unfortunately for them, they did come up just short. They lost the sets 3-1 against Red Deer to claim the silver medal. It's obviously tough Red Deer was the host team. They're playing in their own gym. They have the crowd behind them. So similar to how the Rustlers women's basketball team used the crowd and the home court advantage to their advantage, Red Deer did very similar against the Rustlers. So obviously still a very good effort coming up with second place. And Jace, this is a very young team. Not that they were going into a rebuild coming into this year, but they have a lot of second years and even first years as starters on this team. So maybe unexpected that they came up at silver. Obviously very good for them, but just being such a young team, Jace, this will be a fantastic core for really years to come now.
And we wish them the best as they head into their next season. Hopefully they can grow off of this season. Finally, the last sport we're going to talk about is one that isn't exactly wrapped up. The Lakeland women's hockey team, they're going to be taking on Lethbridge in the Alberta Junior Female Hockey League Championships.
Yeah, Jace, they played games 1 and 2 here in Lloydminster at the Russ Robertson Arena over the weekend on Saturday and on Sunday. And they were splitting this weekend. The Rustlers lost game 1 4-1, but had a very, very strong comeback on Sunday as they won 5-1. Really, each period they were able to start it off with a bang and score goals early and just get the momentum going in their favor. Now, during the regular season, the Rustlers didn't actually lose in their 2 games against the Eagles, so that's obviously very good for the Rustlers, and they must be feeling confident going into this, especially after their last performance. So they'll be playing games 3 and 4 this upcoming weekend in Lethbridge.
All right, Evan. Well, it was a very busy weekend for the Lakeland, all the teams there, all the wrestler teams. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us, and we wish the female hockey team the best of luck.
My pleasure, Jace.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
For Primetime Local News, I'm speaking with Dr. Colleen Dell with the University of Saskatchewan. We're speaking on the research showing how dog therapy can help reduce pain and improve well-being for people being treated in emergency rooms. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're glad to be able to have you on here. Now, where did the idea come from and how did this all begin to start this research on dog therapy?
Yeah, so we've had therapy dogs in Saskatoon through the St. John's Ambulance Therapy Dog Program now for just over 15 years. And we're always trying to think of places where the therapy dogs can go where people don't have typical access to a pet. And we've been in prisons, senior centers, and addiction treatment facilities and so forth. So the emergency department just became a natural, like, well, I wonder if we should be in there. And we spoke with some of the staff there, in particular, Dr. James Stempian. He's the head of emergency departments for the province and at the RUH where we did our work. And he's like, yes, we should look into this for sure.
Now, since the research has started, how has support been in the process of having this expand to other emergency rooms in the province?
Yeah, it was a large undertaking to do this study. Prior to this one, as a controlled clinical trial, we had 2 other studies. One, we just interviewed people in the emergency room and said, you know, if a therapy dog was here, would you want to visit? And over 80% said yes. And then we started off with a really simple study where we just took the dogs into to see the patients and just measured before and after if there was an impact. And there was, which gave us, you know, the foundation to now do this much larger study where we were able to go in and have a control group who didn't visit with a dog at all. And then we had the group that did visit with a dog. So we were able to compare, and that really gives us real strength in our findings.
And from seeing the success of the research so far and how it's going, are you hoping to expand to other hospitals even across the country?
Yeah, well, since we had started, we were the first emergency department in Canada to have a therapy dog visit. And that was in 2015. I think it was November 2015. And since that time, even when we were releasing some findings, other emergency departments would say, hey, what are you doing there? And so forth. So I think there was 6 or 7 across Canada who have attempted this to date, which is really great. And I love that we've been through all the hard work, like working with infectious disease control to make sure we're doing this in a sanitary way, making sure that we have signage everywhere in case a person is afraid of a dog, right? We want to make sure that we account for everything. We've been through ups and downs and all around. So I think we have so much to contribute if any other hospital is interested in doing this.
And I was hoping we could speak a little bit about the grant that your research team has received from the Royal University Hospital Foundation.
Yeah, so we received a grant from the Royal University Hospital Foundation. So that was a $20,000 grant, which, you know, to do a study is not a huge amount of money, but it is all we really needed. We had such a massive team. We do what is called patient-oriented research. So patients who have experienced the emergency department and with their own pain, having a therapy dog and not having a therapy dog there, they all helped develop the study, right? So that we are making sure we were hitting every angle possible. I have a chair in One Health and Wellness at the University of Saskatchewan, and that chair has contributed to the research that we've undertaken as well.
Why do you believe personally this is so important to have for patients in emergency rooms?
You know what I always say now is if you look over the last 2 years in COVID, and so many people just recognize how important their animal is to their own health and their well-being. So I encourage people to think about that, right? So instead of us thinking about humans to humans helping, there are also help that we can get from animals. And it's a reciprocal relationship. It's not just about them helping us. We're there for their welfare as all. So it's this beautiful reciprocal relationship that we have with animals that I feel we haven't explored, right? We need to do a lot more of that thinking relationship to animals and relationship to the land as well. And I think, again, during COVID, I think a lot of people have kind of expanded their thinking around that. And that's really exciting for me.
I think this is really amazing to see, especially having this opportunity for patients in those emergency rooms or in those situations that, you know, may be terrifying and just having the worst day ever. In those situations that they'll be able to have dogs and pets that can help bring out that happiness inside them that they may have thought couldn't be able to be brought out of them in that moment. Is there anything else you want to add that I may have missed out on based on the research?
No, I just want to add, like Dr. James Stempian, who's the co-lead on this with me and the head of the emergency department, he always says, you know, coming into the emergency department could be the worst day of your life. It really can be. So how do we add comfort? How do we support patients in that way? And there is a medical team that is there to do that. And the therapy dog can be part of that care team. If it's helping people, we should be doing it, right?
No, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Dr. Colleen Dell. And I think this is amazing. I'm happy we're helping get the word out.
Thank you.
That right there is all the time we have for this first hour of news. If you missed anything, stay tuned because it's coming up again in the next hour. For now, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm Tate Lakecraft.